Hello, I'm Melissa Keenan, CEO and owner at Coaching with Melissa Keenan and USA Today bestselling author. I am coming today to talk to you about trust. It's an interesting time to talk about trust, isn't it? Interesting because we've got so much chaos going on in the world, don't we? Let me just invite a couple of people here. Okay. Just a moment here. Okay. Let me see here. I want to make sure that I'm live in the right place. So give me a moment, you guys. And as you're tuning in here, I would love to hear who's watching, where you're watching from. Oh, yay. Hi, Shakina. I was trying to tag you and it wasn't allowing me to. Okay, yeah, I'm live in the right place. Okay, good. So trust is an interesting time to talk about trust, isn't it, you guys? Because there's a lot of things happening in our world right now. A lot of reasons not to trust, aren't there? Let's go macro, then we'll go micro. Out in the world right now, we've got all this stuff going on with COVID. We've got all this stuff going on with vaccines. Can we trust our government? Can we trust our politicians? Can we trust our doctors? Can we trust the organizations that make vaccines? And I'm not going to go into where you fall on either side of that. Doesn't really matter. But I think all of us are asking these questions. Can we trust these people? Can we trust these institutions with our lives, with our children's lives? Can we trust that, wearing masks is going to actually do something, lead to something? Can we trust that this is going to end at some point? There's a lot of that showing up for us right now in our macro, right? Distrust in the school systems, distrust in so many pieces that have created our sense of safety and security up to this point. And I believe that all of that is shifting and changing because we got to let go of trusting those things. We really just, we are being called to something higher. So then let's kind of start to bring it in. Maybe in your family, you had lots or a few instances where you were taught that people aren't trustworthy. Maybe in your upbringing, in your extended family, you were hurt, you were victimized, something happened there. Maybe unintentionally even, things can happen that make us feel like, is it even possible for me to trust, right? And typically, a lot of us are awake right now. We've done a lot of work on those things. Now we're going to go down even more narrow. The next layer is right within the walls of our own home, in our marriage. Can we trust our spouse? Have they done things that have proven that they weren't always trustworthy? Have they let us down? You know what? I've actually never spoken to someone who has said, yes, in every absolute aspect, my husband has never shown that he's completely, he's never shown an untrustworthy characteristic. Does that, I hope that validates a little bit, because the thing is we're human, right? So even something as small as he says he's going to take out the trash, but then he doesn't. He says he was going to fix that back door that wasn't going to lock, but then he just never did. And now it's been 2 years, and that's built distrust, right? All the way up to these bigger grievances. Like in my situation, my husband came to me and it turned out he had a secret addiction for 7 years of our marriage. There were lies, there were things there, and that was something that was, absolutely devastating to my ability to trust. And I share that with you guys because I want you to know I'm not just pulling stuff out of thin air, right? I have been through the things that create distrust. So we talk about all these things that create distrust, and they're legit. And they're legit. And likely most of us could walk around and legitimately and justifiably say, I don't need to trust another thing in my life. Life has proven to me, if I was smart, I would never trust again. And you would be absolutely justified in saying that. And that's the case for me. Thing after thing, time after time. People leaving me, people abandoning me, people hurting me, people lying to me, people betraying me. I mean, it would make sense for all of us to walk around and say that. I don't ever have to trust anyone again. And what I've learned is that is also the most disempowered state that I can live in. The most painful, disempowered state that I can live in. So while we have a lot of good reasons not to trust, we have a lot of good reasons to embody trust. And just as I said at the heading of this, accessing deeper trust in your marriage activates your feminine power in your business and your marriage. So what the heck am I talking about? Let's move over now into these higher states of being. And if you can, I'm not going to ask you to trust me. Don't even. You don't have to trust me. Just open your heart a little bit to hear my words and receive my words, and then test them out for yourself and see what you feel about it. See what your intuition brings forward about it. That's how I operate in my coaching, in my intimacy coaching. You already have the answers within you. Don't take my word for anything. Just test it out and see for yourself. Okay, is this landing? I would love again to hear if you're watching, where you're watching from. Say hello. If it feels too vulnerable, I get it, girl. You can just DM me later. I really would love to connect with you on all things around trust. So what do I mean when I say embodying deeper levels of trust? Okay, we went from macro down to micro, down to our marriage, but there's another layer of micro that we didn't touch on. It's trust right here. And I want you to ask yourself right now, can I honestly say I trust myself? I trust myself. I hope so. I hope you've done the work to get to that place. And if the answer is no, then just, think about that. What are those pieces that have created distrust even within your relationship with yourself? This is a lifelong journey, right? Of really unifying with our own will, understanding what we want, who we are, and then trusting ourselves, trusting that what we want is good, trusting that what is good for our greatest and highest good is also good for everyone's greatest and highest good. It's a process, it's a journey. And this process also includes God or the universe. If I trust me, I trust the flow of the universe. If I know how to listen to those nudges that I get, whether it's in answer to a prayer or it just comes randomly out of nowhere, I'm trusting me, I'm trusting in God or the universe. So our trust has to start on that micro level. It has to start there. And it has to continue there. And while that may initially sound like a daunting task, if it's something you've never embarked on, it's actually the most beautiful journey you could ever go on and the most worthy cause you could ever embark on. The world needs you to trust yourself. Society, with all its changes now more than ever, needs you to stand as a beacon for whatever it is that you were planted on this planet to do and create. And then that next level, that next layer is bringing in your husband. Now, doesn't it make total sense that you cannot possibly trust anybody else if you don't trust yourself? You really can't, right? We see really sad situations where that's the case, where children have been victimized and they've been brainwashed into trusting whoever their care person is, their provider is, even when that person is doing like the wrong things, right? We hear about these situations where these kids think, I just thought that was what was best for me because I trusted them. And so we cannot trust another person. Never truly can we trust another person until we fully develop this trust here within ourselves. When children break out of situations like that, then what happens? The place where they feel the most distrust is actually not with the person who hurt them and victimized them and was totally in the wrong. It's deep here. It's like, wait a minute, how did I not realize? How come I didn't recognize this sooner? How come I didn't get out sooner, right? Like, we go through all these things. And so the number one thing you can do is build trust with you. And then when you really know, you feel your desires, you know your heart, you know what you want, and you know that it's good in here, you can trust where this is guiding you. You can bring in your husband. And this may look like very, very beginning steps of this may look like, what can you trust him with? Especially if you're rebuilding trust from a situation like what I described about my own life. You know, it looked like for me starting out by saying, well, what can I trust? Can I trust that my husband's not going to murder me and my children? Yes. Okay. Like, really, you know, I hear a lot of women will say, well, I can't trust him. Well, let's break that down a little bit. Because I'm sure on some layer you can trust him. Otherwise, you wouldn't still be there, right? So I can trust on this layer. Okay, now let's bring in the next layer. What is that next layer? Can I trust that he never intends to hurt me? Is that a layer? That may be true. That may not be true. Can I trust that he is always trying to do what's right for our family? Can I trust that he cares about me and about our children? Can I trust that he's not going to hit me? You know, do you see where I'm going with this? We just break it all down. And then when you've moved through those levels, I want to share with you like what this can actually be like. Just yesterday, my husband called me. He called me on his way to work and he said, man, I'm super overwhelmed and I have a lot that like is weighing on me. And I was wondering if you could just message me and tell me, like, I can't talk right now, but can you message me sometime today and tell me the ways that you trust me? This is a practice that I'm sharing with you now. It's golden. It will change your life if you implement it. And I said, yeah, sure, of course, I can do that. And as I was writing and really checking in with myself, what are those things I can tell him I trust him on? You know, I said, I trust that you're going to influence a lot of kids. He's a school teacher. I trust that you're going to influence a lot of kids for good. I listed off a few things. And then one of the things that I shared was, I trust you with my body. And it brought tears to my eyes because that was a new layer for me. That was a new layer for me. There are these deeper and deeper layers that we can go in, that we can really know someone, know their solidity, know where that container starts and stops of the other person, to get what I'm saying on an energetic level. I do trust my husband. I trust him with my spirit. I trust him with my heart. I trust him with my body. And that's like crazy, right? Lights on or lights off. I trust him. During sex, not during sex. I trust him. And that's what's possible. How in the freak did we get from where I just described in 2013, that's when everything hit the fan for us, to today, 2021, and I trust him on every level. And I have to tell you, the journey started with me trusting me. Above all else, I had to say, I'm going to do this work to trust myself first. Let my husband choose what he chooses. Let his actions fall where they fall. This is the thing I'm going to commit to. I would love to see, raise your hand if you're willing to commit to trusting yourself above all else. I'd love to hear that from you in the comments. And then luckily he did choose. And I do believe it had a lot to do with me choosing, because I've seen this now in client after client, that as the woman chooses to stand in her own divinity and stand up for herself and be in her sovereignty and be in her divinity and in her just unapologetic truth, that masculine energy will step in almost like a mirror or a reflection. They're not very introspective. Masculine energy is extrospective, not introspective. And just almost like it was automatic, they'll just rise to that next vibration. That can't always be the case, right? I can't always make that promise that that's going to happen for my clients, but many, many times that's the case. But it doesn't matter, because when you deeply commit to you, it's like, you know what? I hope he chooses himself, because I'm choosing me. I'm not looking back. Does that land for you guys? This is the power of being in this trust. And think about it. If you really trusted yourself, now let's bring it full circle, bring it to the business. If you fully trusted yourself, it's like, oh my gosh, I just met someone and I'm excited. I feel like she might be a prospect. Okay, then I'm going to open my mouth and talk to her about what I do, rather than hide or hold back, right? Man, I'm not sure if this next financial investment is the right investment for my business. Well, I trust myself. I can easily get those answers and cling to them. And it's just me. There's nobody to blame. There's no maybe because they told me to, then I should whatever. No, you just trust you. Can you see how that's going to magnify your business? Doing this deeper work and really trusting yourself is the true work of intimacy. Intimacy can be broken down into 3 words. Into me, see. See into you. Know her, trust her. And when you do that, everything else will fall into place. And there's no better time than now to do that. There's no more urgent time than now to do that, because our society is changing like crazy. It's changing so fast. Do you see it? Do you see the way that our ideals have shifted? The things that we hold so dear and sacred have shifted as a society, and it's fast because we're connected now globally. Change can take place fast, and evil or dark forces or forces that don't have our best interest in mind can take advantage of that. But guess what? We can take advantage of that too. Times are changing quickly. And so I'm calling on you, my sisters who feel that call, who know that your work in the world is so important and your marriage, your partnership is so important. Nothing else could be more important right now than having those things solid, your trust with yourself, and then working on that trust in your marriage. Because in a coming day, when all institutions have failed us, all these institutions that confuse us and are adding chaos to our society right now, and there's fear flying like crazy, it's those of us who listen to this call right now who are going to be those leaders in that coming day. And if you feel that in your bones and you feel that call and this has resonated with you, please reach out to me. I'll put my link in the comments to book a quick call. I'd love to get to know you in person, not through all this technology and, having text chats. Let's just talk face to face. Let's get real so that I can hear your stories and why trust is important to you. So I can help hold that vision of how you're supposed to be that leader in our coming day. And if this has resonated with you and you want to link arms with like-minded women, join us in Women Manifesting Intimacy, my Facebook group. And I'll also post that in the comments. Thanks, guys.